Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, first of all, let me compliment the UAW. The first time over the last several weeks that I've had the opportunity to hear an adequate defense that this fault is not the fault of the labor contract, this is an economic fault. But I'm not absolutely sure that it's only an economic fault, and that's what I'd like to ask Mr. Wagner. Is all of this, none of this would have happened if the credit crunch hadn't occurred in Wall Street, or do you anticipate that it would have happened or possibly would have happened anyway?
No, sir. I think it's completely due to the credit crisis, and I just give you an example, sir. I think all of us were well on the way to the plans, and reflected by stock price improvement in earnings. And frankly, what happens is the lack of availability of credit at a time when our balance sheets are weakened by borrowings has really hurt not only our ability to fund ourselves, but our consumers' ability to buy cars.
In a way of analogy, the committee or the Congress is sitting as a loan officer in a bank, and I propose that we have three rather substantial individuals requesting a loan. I'm amazed with how little depthful sales analysis has been made of what you need this money for, when will it be spent, how will it be spent, what kind of protections are involved for both the workers and for the American public. For instance, I see nothing in this program that says the day we grant the power for you to make that $25 billion loan, you can't strike a deal of General Motors of China and build plants in China or contract out most or all of the parts from China. Why do you think we should not take the time to make requirements and conditions in this loan, bridge loan, that would protect the American taxpayer, the American worker, and perhaps even some of your equity holders?
Congressman, we'd be glad, and I think in our various comments have commented on the kind of restrictions that have been suggested or we have suggested. Your point about the money being used to support our operations in the U.S., we would fully endorse that, so we're wide open to.
Then, Mr. Wagner.
Congressman, we'd be glad, and I think in our various comments have commented on the kind of restrictions that have been suggested or we have suggested. Your point about the money being used, to support our operations in the U.S., we would fully endorse that, so we're wide open to.
Then, Mr. Wagner, then you would be agreeable that we find some methodology to buy some time here. So can you tell me when will General Motors run out of money relatively in the near future, and what amount of money would you need now to prevent that insolvency so that we can take the 3 months necessary to really go into the depth of what conditions and how this agreement or this bridge loan should be made?
I don't believe, Congressman, that we have the luxury of a lot of time. And if I could,
yeah, but why? Tell me when are you going to run out of money?
I can't tell you that for certain because a lot depends on the people that, whether our suppliers will continue to ship us with that advance.
You have to, accounting-wise, you have to be telling us if everybody acted against your best interest, there's a time you can't meet your conditions. Somebody had briefed you on that, Mr. Wagner.
Yeah, the needs are urgent. If everybody who lent money to the industry suppliers asked it to be paid off tomorrow, it would be a tremendous run on the financial position for all of us. So the need for funding action is
and
quite.
What amount of money would you need to take you to March 30th?
We have talked about this $25 billion bridge loan, and while
no, $25 billion bridge loan is for 3 auto companies. I'm asking about General Motors, and I'm asking how much money you need today to keep you viable and alive so we can structure a reasonable loan contract by March 30th.
We have talked about an allocation of the $25 billion that would be approximately based on our U.S. market share, which suggests relative U.S. market share, which suggests a total availability against that facility to GM of $10 to $12 billion.
Maybe I'm denser, Mr. Wagner. I don't quite understand what the hell you just told me. Can't you just tell me in absolute terms how much money do you need to survive, General Motors, from today until March 30th?
Congressman, it's going to depend on what happens with suppliers and markets.
I understand it. Give me your worst-case scenario.
The worst-case scenario, the amount of money would be significant. I mean, we have supplier.
What is significant?
$4 or $5 billion every month.
So what you're telling us that since you anticipate borrowing $15 to $18 billion under this authorization, if the market doesn't turn around, and the economy doesn't recover by that time, and I think you have to be a wishful thinker to think it will, by March 30th, you're out of money. Is that correct?
The analysis that we've done is based on an assumption that the U.S. market continues at about the current rate, which is a weak level. We don't assume a lot of recovery. We hope it won't get worse. On that basis, we would, with the amount of funding that proportionally would presumably be allocated to us, we think we have a good shot to make it through next year. And that'll be our effort to do that.